Big U, somebody that you and I both know.
Right.
In fact, you were on his Checking In podcast at one point. He came to Brooklyn, right?
Yep.
I'm going to say this before I keep talking. Me and Big U have always been cool. I remember when I had Whack on my show, he was like, yo, man, is someone pressuring you to talk nicely about Big U right now? I'm like, no, me and him was cool. Me and him was cool before he got arrested. I'm not going to change my tune now. He did my show. We kept in contact. We spoke a few times a year. Never had a bad experience with Big U, ever. You, I assume, probably had a similar kind of relationship considering that you did his podcast.
Yeah, we was cool.
We was cool.
Yeah.
When you heard about the whole RICO indictment, what did you think?
Unfortunate. Anytime I hear about anybody catching a RICO indictment, it's unfortunate. In me and my personal life, I got close friends, very close friends that's battling RICO, so I deal with that up front. I'm at the courthouse.
Oh, okay.
I'm down on those visits, for mine. So when it comes to hearing about this person or that person catching a RICO charge, I think it's fucked up.
Yeah, it's a 43 count indictment. 1 count of conspiracy to violate RICO, 2 counts of conspiracy to interfere with commerce by robbery and extortion, which is the Hobbs Act, 1 count of Hobbs Act robbery, 9 counts of attempted Hobbs Act extortion, 5 counts of Hobbs Act extortion, 1 count of transportation of individual for interstate commerce with intent to engage in prostitution, that's the Mann Act, 15 counts of wire fraud, 5 counts of embezzlement, 1 count of bank fraud, 1 count of tax evasion, 2 counts of willful failure to file a tax return. And then, which I don't think is part of the Fed indictment, this might be a state case, because it was mentioned in the Fed paperwork, in the announcement.
Right.
There was the whole accusation of a murder of an aspiring rap artist named R.W.
But they didn't charge him with that.
It wasn't in the actual federal indictment, but when you look at the press release from the feds, and I looked it up, there's a mention of it.
There's a mention of
which
it,
is odd.
They even talked about it in the press release.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Why do you think they talked about probably the most serious, well, not even probably, the most serious crime in the whole thing? They talk about it, mention it, but it's not in the indictment.
They always add unindicted conduct, though. Feds, they try to sentence you for that unindicted conduct. So say you got caught for, selling 1 brick, right? But they got information, somebody told them that you sold 10 more, right? Even though they didn't indict you for that 1, they would try to basically level you up and push up your guidelines, enhance you because of that unindicted conduct. You don't know about that? Look that up.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you mean to tell me if you got indicted for, let's say, drug dealing, right? Let's just say I got indicted for drug dealing, right? They could say, well, he also did some murders, but we're not sure, but we think he did some more murders around this drug dealing activity.
They add that, even though you're not indicted. Absolutely.
And not even charged or anything.
I'm dealing with that right now with a friend of mine right now.
Really?
1,000%. My brother was sentenced like that.
Yeah, look, I talk to a lot of the top lawyers because I interview them on the show and I keep in contact with them. They become my friends over the years. And what they all say is all these cases, like the YSL RICO case, ASAP Rocky case, all these cases that these celebrities are winning, these are all state cases. In the feds, it's a whole different ballgame.
It is.
Like the whole, the little Woody situation, getting on the stand and changing a story and acting all crazy, and then ultimately, same thing with like the Tory Lanez case. Remember the girl, what's her name? Megan's friend who got on the stand and started changing the whole story.
Right.
That shit don't happen in the feds when it comes to witnesses. When a witness says, okay, I'm going to cooperate and I'm going to take the stand, they get on the stand and start changing their story, end up with life in prison over that shit.
But that's if they got life up over their heads, though.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If that's what they're playing with, You can't get on the stand and start messing up the case.
I don't think Woody had life over his head.
No, I'm
though.
not saying that, but what I'm saying, that was a state case.
Right. Well, feds already play a different game to begin with.
Yeah.